This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Bergamy.
You know, that announcer does not get enough credit, does he?
He doesn't.
Welcome to the FM. That is slang, by the way, for Farm Monitor. He's Kenny B. I am Ray D. And here is what is coming up on today's show. KB.
All right, straight ahead, what effects, if any, has the pandemic had on the volume coming in and out of Georgia ports? The answer might surprise you. Also on the program, plenty of challenges for guest workers during this time of uncertainty. John HOLCOMB, though, with the great lengths one company is going through to protect its workforce from COVID-19.
And then later, a special feature that may hit home for a lot of you. Why one Henry County family who time and time again turned down offers to buy their land finally gave in, even if it meant giving up their home of nearly a quarter century. These stories and so much more start right now on the Farm Monitor.
With such a wide range of agricultural goods produced here in Georgia, having a resource like the Port of Savannah is essential for the industry. Damon Jones tells you how it became the top exporter of ag products in the country and just how much the pandemic has impacted their operation.
While not considered a big city, Savannah is home to the fourth largest port in America, and every inch of it is put to good use with so much inventory being moved through each and every day.
Well, this is the biggest single marine terminal, we call it, in the Western Hemisphere. So you can think about 2 miles long, about a mile and a half deep. So it's a massive facility. It gives us a lot of benefits of scale, benefits of being able to rationalize all the equipment here to really make it an efficient operation.
Those advantages are important for farmers as the majority of products that run through the ports are related to agriculture. And it only makes sense considering it is the state's #1 industry.
About 60% of our exports are agricultural products. So we are in prime location, close to point of production. So it's really important. It's true to our roots. It's what Savannah was founded on in 1733, was agricultural exports. And that's true today. That's central to our mission statement. It's about getting Georgia products to international markets and getting international products to Georgia consumers.
To keep track of the more than 12,000 trucks that run through the port on a daily basis, they must utilize some of the most state-of-the-art technology.
There's a lot of technology in this facility. I mean, we moved over 4.4 million TEUs of cargo through this facility. So that's a lot of containers to keep up with. So a lot of technology, not only in the gates, but actually on the yard equipment that keeps and tracks the movement of all these containers from the time it comes through the gate to the time it's positioned in the right location of the terminal to load to a vessel, and conversely, once it comes off, where it goes, and then making that connection with the trucker.
And it's not just technological advances that make this port so desirable, but also its proximity to major highways and rail systems.
Infrastructure has been a critical enhancement here in the state of Georgia. The state of Georgia, the Port Authority have all worked hand in hand, Department of Transportation, building infrastructure that's unmatched anywhere else in the country. So it's not just sufficient enough to have a big port. You need to have lots of infrastructure so these trucks can get in and out efficiently and cost effectively.
While the ports have seen just a 1% decrease in total volume during this pandemic, that doesn't mean it hasn't been a challenging time for all of those involved.
Well, certainly a major time of uncertainty. Our volumes have fluctuated drastically. They've slowed down in some cases, and now they're speeding back up. So we're fortunate to have a very robust, loyal workforce that has worked through this pandemic. We continue to move freight in and out of here. The future's uncertain, but we're working together, not only with our stakeholders, but our employees to keep everyone healthy and safe.
Reporting from Chatham County, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
No matter the industry, protecting the workforce from CV-19 is essential to operate. That's definitely the case for produce growers, since most produce has to be hand harvested. John HOLCOMB reports on one company in South Georgia that was determined to keep their H-2A workers safe and healthy.
No matter the produce, whether it's blueberries, peaches, or onions, producers here in Georgia and all over the country rely on H2A workers to get their products out of the field and out the door to the market or to distribution centers. One of those produce operations is Southern Valley Fruit and Vegetable.
We rely heavily on our H2A workers because of the seasonality of it and the sheer volume of people that we need to make that crop, to get it planted, to get it harvested, and then get it cleaned up in each of those different locations in which we're operating. And so we have supply chain agreements with retail partners and food service partners, and they're expecting us to supply them so that they can feed people with it.
And due to their dependency on their H2A workers, when COVID-19 presented itself in early March, they had to scramble to try and protect their workforce.
What we were trying to do is keep our workforce protected, safe, and healthy. We didn't know what kind of immunities would be needed, and these people were all coming from pre-indigenous areas. A lot of them hadn't had immunizations the way that we have when we were growing up, and they've built natural immunity to certain things, but it's all about exposure. Nobody really knew what COVID was still at this point in time. So we wanted to mitigate their risk and to protect their health.
Once they knew more information, they adapted their facilities and their operations by doing things like temperature checks, health questionnaires, and quarantining those that exhibited symptoms. They even went as far as bringing in supplies for them so that they wouldn't have to be exposed to the virus.
What we did at this point, we tried to figure out a way, because we already feed all of our people and house them. We feed them 3 times a day, 7 days a week. So we already have a cafeteria and everything to provide for that. But we knew they were going to need supplies outside of that. Basic things, soap, razor, shaving cream, whatever, shampoo, whatever, those kind of things. So at that point, we realized if we're going to do this, we have to create an environment for them where they're able to get everything they need, and they don't have to go out and they don't have to worry about becoming sick or somebody else getting sick and coming and making them sick.
Those steps to keep them safe and healthy were extremely important to them because not only were they relying on them for this season, but they're relying on them for future seasons as well.
We wanted people to be healthy. We want them to get rested well at night, be comfortable where they are, and to be able to come to work every day. And there again, it's an interdependent relationship. We do the things we do, and they work for the pay they're getting. And we make sure that we're doing the things we do where they will come to work and be repetitive with us. We don't like turnover in our business. We want the same people coming every year because those people gain a lot of skills, a lot of experience by being repetitious workers. And a fruit basket turnover is never any good for a company, not if you have a skill set that you have to work in. So it's very important to us to keep our employees healthy, happy, and wanting to return. And then in turn of that, if they want to return, they'll do a good job. They'll do the right thing where they're here.
Reporting in Colquitt County for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
John, thank you so much. When we come back,
I hate to see it taken over by housing developments and all like that, but I think we're just so close to Atlanta, the times are changing, and I don't see any way of slowing it down.
They're out there on the front lines. The brave, the dedicated, the relentless. But there's another front line. The one that helps nourish all others while facing epic struggles of their own. So in this season of uncertainty, a few things remain certain. The rain will fall, the sun will shine, and together we'll continue to grow.
In 2018, the American Farmland Trust released a study showing that between 1992 and 2012, More than 31 million acres of farmland were lost due to urban sprawl. Things like residential housing, commercial warehouses, highways, etc. To put that in perspective, 31 million acres, about the size of Iowa. Here in Georgia, a perfect example of urban sprawl would be Henry County. Once a mecca for dairy farms, today there are none. Zero, zilch. Really, Henry County farms as a whole are disappearing. So what do you do if you're a landowner or farmer being pressured to sell by big money developers? Here now the story of one Henry County family who, after years of turning down offers, finally gave in and said, let's make a deal.
My dad used to tell me when these developers come through and negotiate with the county people, he said, you can't beat them, you just gotta negotiate with them.
Whether you're a traveler passing through or a frequent visitor, there are a few things that stand out about Henry County. Almost immediately, you notice what seems to be the never-ending and sometimes chaotic traffic on Interstate 75. There's also a plethora of shopping centers, and within the last couple of years, an image some say is progress, while others call it a travesty.
I found a notebook at the peach stand that they used to have a Locust Grove Agriculture Club and had a list of all the farmers they used to meet once a month here in Locust Grove. And they'd be from Luella and McDonald. And so there was a lot of farming in this area back then. When I was little, they still had some cotton around. My granddaddy had a cotton patch over here where there used to be one of the peach orchards. And I remember walking out in the cotton, it was higher than my head.
You heard Lee make reference to a peach stand. Back in the day, Gardner Farms was a popular tourist attraction before agritourism became a thing. It was owned by Lee's father, Samuel Howell Gardner. Eventually, Lee, his brother Tom, and the rest of the family took over the day-to-day operations. But in time, the upkeep became too much, and after years of delaying the inevitable, the Gardner family agreed it was time.
We didn't have the land for sale, and it was approached to us, and somebody came and talked to us about it, and we weren't interested. And but it eventually got to where we can't keep this forever because we can't farm peaches. We're having a tough time trying to keep the deer out of them. And so that's when we come to our final decision. When the next offer came along, we entertained it, and that's where we went.
And just like that, generations of memories wiped out in a day by bulldozers, only to be replaced by concrete and steel. Fast forward 2 years, another Garner is faced with that same gut-wrenching decision. Tom and Lee's cousin Randy. This time, however, the offer didn't include a business, but his home of 26 years and the land on which it sat.
When a family has property they can no longer farm, it becomes a liability. You pay taxes on it and it's just still sitting there. It just sits there. So when it's no longer viable as farming property, the family has to make hard decisions. And that's happened over and over and over for the last 100 years for our family and this area here. The time has come, a lot of people don't like the warehousing concept, but they don't understand the southern part of Henry County has now become the southern gateway for Savannah Riverport, which is now being deepened and widened to take in the large cargo, the super cargo carriers that are going to come in. All those containers are going to come up dedicated truck lanes up 16 to I-75 to our new interchange over here at Bethlehem Road. This is going to happen within the next 3 to 5 years. And that's what the growth is in this area.
In the last 10 or 15 years, it's really took off. I mean, even when the economy took a downturn, it didn't slow it down, I don't think. But agriculture it's been a big part of this area, and I hate to see it taken over by housing developments and all like that, but I think we're just so close to Atlanta, the times are changing, and I don't see any way of slowing it down.
And as one might imagine, Randy's decision to sell hasn't come without criticism, whether it be from friends, neighbors, even perfect strangers who were seeking the rural lifestyle. But know this, his choice wasn't an easy one. And soon, his home, his land, even the house he was raised in will all be gone, replaced by more concrete and steel.
We're not the only family that's had to leave their home place. It's very hurtful for a lot of people, but it's just one of those things you have to work through. And having spoken to a lot of the demolition crews at my aunt's house across the highway, they say, man, I'm telling you, we've had to do this a lot of times over the years. And these home places that we're tearing in, we do understand that people have histories there and they've raised families there and generations and generations and generations. And I even had one of them come to me and say, well, what do you think about all this? I said, it's just something, it's just part of this life we live. We have to move on. It's time. He says, I don't see how you do it, but you pray about it and you move on. Yeah. That's just the way it is.
Indeed, a powerful testimony, and our thanks to the Gardner family for sharing their story with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paul Pugliese with the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension. We get a lot of calls in the County Extension Office about holes in people's trees. And so what's causing those holes? It could be insects or it could be animals in some cases. A lot of insect holes that occur on trees are actually really small, very tiny holes. Usually they'll have sawdust or sap coming out of them if they're associated with insect damage. But if you have larger holes on your trees, especially about the size of a pencil in diameter, such as this one right here. And you see lots of other holes that are kind of drilled in straight lines like this on the bark of this tree. It's actually caused by a woodpecker, specifically the sapsucker woodpecker, which is very common throughout Georgia. The sapsucker woodpecker actually drills holes in the tree to attract other insects like ants and other insects that'll be attracted to the sap that comes out of those holes. And then they'll come back and revisit those holes periodically and keep drilling and eating those insects periodically as well. So that's a very common problem here in Georgia. A lot of people don't realize the difference between insect holes and bird holes. So in this case, birds actually drill holes that are kind of in a straight line. So I always say, anything with about the size of a bird's brain is smart enough to drill holes kind of in a straight line. Insects will never drill holes in perfectly straight lines or rows like you see here on this tree. Sapsucker woodpeckers will actually attack a lot of different hardwood trees. Pecans are one of the favorite trees, magnolias, maples, river birch, and even a lot of fruit trees that you might grow in your backyard are highly favored by the sapsucker woodpecker. One interesting thing that you'll find sometimes with maple trees is when they get drilled very heavily by woodpeckers is that sap will come out of the tree and it'll actually stain the trunk of the tree black. And it's actually a sooty mold that grows on the sap that's coming out of those holes. The sooty mold is not harmful to the tree, but if you have a maple tree, especially a sugar maple tree in your backyard and the tree trunk is completely black, that's actually the reason why it's turning black, and it's from the woodpeckers drilling holes in that tree. You will sometimes find other secondary insects that will be attracted to those holes. Again, that's the whole reason that sapsuckers are going after those trees. And those things like insects, like ants and beetles and other things will be eating the sap, but they're not causing any damage to the tree itself. And so we don't really have to worry about those secondary insects. On larger trees, we generally don't worry about the damage that's caused by those sapsucker woodpeckers. In fact, older trees like this one here can tolerate the damage very well. But on younger trees, occasionally the damage can actually be bad enough that you can see damage where it will actually girdle the trunk of the tree, or in some cases, I've even had small birch trees that have actually broken small limbs out where they've attacked it over and over. So in those cases, you might want to protect that young tree with hardware cloth. A good example of hardware cloth would be, like a cage type wire that you can get at a local hardware center or Tractor Supply type store. Feed and seed stores carry this a lot of times. Again, this is not something you're going to do on large trees, but for smaller trees, you'd want to, create a small cage to protect the lower trunk, especially on those young trees, and protect them until they get big enough to be able to tolerate that damage. So again, this is another problem that we see a lot of times. We get a lot of calls about these. And again, it's important to know the difference between what is a bird-caused hole versus insect holes in trees. And more often than not, if it's as big as a pencil or a pin in diameter, it's not something that you have to worry about on larger trees. So for more information, or if you have any questions, feel free to call your local county extension office and go to our website at ugaextension.com, and be sure to follow us on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Finally this week, they really don't make a good first impression, but once you hear all about them, you may think otherwise.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hey, What Do You Know? My name is Kathy Church, and today's topic, the Virginia opossum, or just possum. Now, Scooby here, he might not be the most handsome fella on the planet. Those beady black eyes and that hairless tail. A lot of people think that possums are rodents, but they're not. Rodents have these large upper and lower incisors that help them chew through anything they need to. Like that beaver may need to chew through wood, or a squirrel may need to chew through a nut, but possums, they don't have those incisors. They just have the most teeth of any land mammal in North America. 50 razor sharp teeth. That means that Scooby here's got more teeth than a bear. Whoa. Instead of being a rodent, possums are marsupials. Now, just like a kangaroo or koala bear, these guys have tiny babies that actually develop in a pouch. But you gotta understand what I mean by tiny. A possum can actually birth 50 babies, but the mama only has 13 nipples for feeding them. Now, all 13 of those babies that could survive will actually fit in that teaspoon. Not one at a time, all 13 in there at once. Now, if those 13 babies are to survive, they've got to have a way to protect themselves. And possums are well known for playing dead. Now, when they play dead, it's not by choice. It's like fainting. Their brain just gets overloaded and they're out. They may drool, their tongue may hang out, they go totally stiff. Their breathing actually slows down by 30%, their heart rate slows down by half. They even go completely stiff. Now, this is brilliant because if you're being attacked by an animal that only eats live things and you appear dead, well, they're not going to bother with you. And if maybe they feel threatened or their babies feel threatened, if you seem dead, you're not a threat anymore. So it's a great way to protect yourself. But when they wake up, they can be quite aggressive. They're known for what we call the possum grin. As you can see here, they like to open that mouth and show you all 50 teeth and hiss at you. Yeah, that's a way of protecting themselves. But even though a possum may look kind of creepy, they're actually nature's super duper cleaners. These guys are true omnivores, and they eat plants, they eat meats, they even eat carrion, dead things. These guys will actually even eat the bones of animals, so they help clean up things that other animals won't eat. But more amazing, these guys are actually not affected by snake venom, so they will eat both venomous and non-venomous snakes alike. My personal favorite thing about possums, though, possums eat ticks. Possums are known to eat about 90% of the ticks that get on their body. That means a possum can eat about 5,000 ticks a season. Now, what that does is that helps to slow or stop the spread of things like Lyme disease, which can make humans very sick. And there are other diseases that possums can't really even carry. Their body temperature is lower than most mammals, so they're actually 9 times less likely to carry rabies than other mammals that you may find in the woods. So, hey, what do you know? A possum can't carry rabies, eats snakes for dinner, and has more teeth than a bear. Who knew? Hope you found this interesting, and keep an eye out for more. Hey, what do you know?
How about that? Not a carrier of rabies. I did not know that.
I did not either.
Oh. Kathy, thanks so much, and thank you for making this show possible.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on the Farm Monitor.
Have a great week.